Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wish you a happy and healthy start to this lovely little Sunday morning over here. It's nice and overcast in Helsinki, Finland, but we got plenty to talk about on Bitcoin in the short-term timeframes, as there's actually quite a few opportunities really rearing their lovely heads to start off this early-ish week, I guess. Technically speaking, I mean, Sunday is the first day of the week, but for whatever reason, we don't treat it that way. Anyways, let's put the focus over here on the Krown application, which, by the way, can be found at app.krownchain.net. The link is in the description below. We have mobile coming soon, and we have all new stuff coming soon. In the next couple updates. Anyways, with that said, Bitcoin dominance actually shooting up from yesterday to today, about 50 all the way up to 51, so 1% gainer over the past day. Does imply that altcoin Bitcoin parents getting a little bit boo-caked on, and I imagine that if we go down over here, there is going to be a few losers. Yes, indeed. In fact, we do see Thorcoin, Verge, Celsius, BAT, VeChain, UMA, BitTorrent, Theta, IOTA, Digibyte, all down a decent amount percentage, actually. A lot of those double digits or nearly double digits. On the other side, though, the top 10 winners, the big boys today, it's almost as if this is not enough, especially after seeing the past week do, you know, several 100%, especially for Doggy Coin right there, actually up about 13.69, Solana to 16.08, and Monero, Nano, Cello, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin BEP2, never even fucking heard of that thing. Dash and Paxos, which is a stablecoin, by the way, all in the gainers list right there. But it looks like there's actually very few that are even in the green, as the stablecoins do start to come in right on over here. So most things just kind of flat in sideways or slightly down versus their Bitcoin Satoshi parent. Anyways, on top of that, we do see that the fear and greed index has come down to a 31. So we are quite literally in the fearful zone now. Now, it's not extreme fear. That would be below about 20 to 25 region. So we still got a little bit more to go there. And within the context of a macro bullish structure, is this more or less a warning signal for, at the very least, you know, a little bit of a local low action? Yes, I do believe so on the higher term timeframes here, as we've been saying for the past couple days. I basically am still looking for a bounce after a little bit of a drama at the current lows, maybe somewhere around 47.5 to 48,000 bucks, similar to yesterday. Very same, or sorry, not, I wouldn't say same, but very similar short-term analysis. Higher term timeframe analysis is going to be more or less the same. Anyways, into the market data tab we go, and let's see what we got going on over here. We do see that the funding rates have gone up a little bit across the board, but really it shows when we actually dig into the minutia here that most exchanges are at around parity. FTX the only kind of outlier, but we are going to be removing that in the next update because it is just a bad feed, so can't really trust it right now. Also, it does it a little bit differently to the other exchanges. Does it every hour for the funding rate rather than every 8 hours, which is the going, which is typically like, you know, par for the course on most of these exchanges. So it kind of, you know, presents a little bit of an issue with the data. Anyways, what else do we see here? Okay, so open interest still coming down a bit. Have we found any sort of major lows in this? Actually, let me just scoot back on over here. Yeah, just about 9.5 billion it looks like on the books right now. So still kind of finding its lows, but overall, we've still not seen what I would consider a really concerning signal, where the open interest actually shoots up while price action, you know, essentially, well, continues on the downtrend on the daily right now. So with that in mind, I will present a very specific thing that I'm looking for potentially in this next week, probably this next week if it's going to happen. That would be very bearish to myself, at least for like a medium term time frame sort of look, and very likely plan to a move down below maybe even 40,000 bucks, but extremely likely 44 to 45,000 bucks on the next drive. Of course, there actually is a bounce implied there beforehand, but what else do I want to say before we get into the actual charts? Oh yeah, liquidity zone. They have their daily videos coming out. Well, I mean daily once traditional markets are being focused on, so check them out. And of course, they got their newsletter as well, which you can check out. And they got new editions coming pretty damn soon. They're doing like a bi-monthly edition, but kind of like titrating the way that they let out the singular parts of them. On top of that, we got Jackie. Where is Jackie? I don't see Jackie here, but Jackie does have his group going in on May. I actually believe the 1st of May. So check that out if you want a little bit more like one-on-one type business. And let's get into the now charts, as we can start it off with the daily over here. Very similar look to yesterday. So remember yesterday when we spoke about the bottom side troll band implications with the current price action. And if you are just well, I guess I don't even know what I'd call this. It's not necessarily price action, but it would be considered, I suppose, like dildo formations, if you will. And what we saw yesterday was essentially, or sorry, not yesterday, but 2 days ago on the 22nd, that would be Friday. Let me just double check. Hold on, what was the 22nd? Was that Thursday or Friday? That was Thursday. My OCD makes it so that I can't not look. But looking at this right here, you know, whenever you see like a hammer dildo, as the Trollinger bands expand, that just barely brings it right around to the edge of the Trollinger band. Typically speaking, you want to actually see it close inside. That is going to be a good signal that, you know, price action does find its lows relatively soon and does put in, you know, at the very least, a bouncy bounce. Now, in this case right here, there is something very significant that has happened in the last week of price action. Obviously, Bitcoin took out the last higher low from March 24th. Bitcoin has not entered into a downtrend for a very long time. In fact, it's been quite some time, going all the way back on over here to January of 2021, so just a few months ago, as we did have our last downtrend. Here's your high, here's your low, here's your lower high, and obviously this would be your lower low over here. Now, obviously this one did eventually not get any continuation, but a little bit of a different dynamic going on over here. As you can see, that price action did find its footing on the green 55 exponential average, and it never had a negative slope the whole way through. Over here, Bitcoin has actually broken that green 55 exponential average, which has actually happened for the first time since this run really began on the macro scale back on over to October of the prior year, 2020. As you can see, when it breaks above about 11,000 bucks, which made us on this channel incredibly fucking bullish long term. What the hell am I looking at over here? Oh, just checking in on Discord, and I'm very surprised by the lack of Z's pictures right now. What the fuck's going on, man? Anyways, back onto the charts over here. So I'm still looking at the bottom side Trollinger band here. It's a little bit of a short-term basing for price action. So we need to kind of fit the whole analysis into like a more well-rounded picture. And on the daily, I'm essentially looking at this area as very, very likely to bounce it back up. Problem is, because we do have a lower low and because things are switching around from a structural perspective, I would be looking at this next bounce attempt as a very how you know, how would I put this? Fraught with peril? No, that's not the right terminology, but very questionable. First and foremost, I'm looking for a lower high. The second that we see a lower high on a 12-hour or daily is the second that I really start to look and gear my trades towards a move extremely likely to 45,000 bucks, and probably even and probably even lower than that. You know, when it's all said and done, maybe even below 40,000 bucks for a small stint, as this market does, you know, again, enter into the fearful zone over here. But can this go down a little bit more? Absolutely yes. And the more fearful that it does get within the context of a macro uptrend, which we are still in a macro uptrend to be fair, and that's not going away anytime soon, as long as Bitcoin's above about 30,000 bucks, I believe, at least on the weekly, then I do look at any big downside move as a major opportunity, or potential opportunity, obviously, first and foremost. You know, nothing's guaranteed, but I do like those probabilistic setups. In this case right here, I still like the bottom side Trollinger band as a little bit of base, a price action that is coming in right around about 40, just below 49,000 bucks. I do think that Bitcoin probably tests somewhere down around there. It looks like we actually already came pretty damn close this morning, 49,420, great number right there, to the downside. But ultimately, here's the next really big thing that I'd be looking for. Let me pull up a new chart. Here we go. So this is what I'd be looking for right here. Clean chart, beautiful. And what are we looking at? Okay, so here's your low, here's your high, here's your, well, obviously going to be a lower low because we have already closed on new lows. So what happens after that? Well, assuming that Bitcoin does put in a low right here, what we can do to kind of generate some areas of interest to the upside for a potential lower high is take the breadth of this range right here from the high to low. Again, we're making an assumption right now, and I am using wicks because I actually do want to see what this is going to look like from a closing base and a wick basis. But if we are using wicks, then I would keep a keen eye on the 0.5 and the 618 Fibonacci retracement right here. This is a bearish retracement, by the way. I'm not using this for extensions right now. I'm using this for actual bearish targets. And that would imply that any sort of price action, obviously below our last prior high, which is about 63,500 on a daily closing basis, is going to be a lower high. I would go as far as saying I don't necessarily even need to see that area taken out in order for me to get bullish again. 60,000 bucks is my safe word right there, or maybe 61,000 bucks, which is actually the 786 right here. Typical bull traps will come in somewhere around the 618 a lot of the time, and that's currently right around 58,000 bucks. Again, this is on a wick basis. If we use it on a closing base, probably gonna be like 57.5 if I had to guess. And the 0.5 is 56,000 bucks again via wicks, and it does match up pretty damn well with structure right here as well. This is kind of like your kill zone, if you will, of which I would be incredibly what's it called, skeptical whenever price action, or assuming price action even gets back above there, to, well, be looking on, you know, be on lower high watch, as that will set up the next major downside move. Like I've been saying, to about 45,000 bucks would be the next target for myself, plus very likely well, I wouldn't say very likely, but potential continuation of 39,000 bucks. I want to see the first move first, of course. Not that that's redundant enough. Anyways, bringing up our momentum oscillators right here. Again, I do think that Bitcoin's more in a posture for a bounce here than anything. Daily MACD is getting pretty fucking red right there. The reddest that we've seen in quite some time. In fact, this is actually the first time since since really September, where we even got below the zero read, which is rather interesting. And as you can see in September, I mean, this was a very quick stint. This is nothing compared to what we're seeing right now. So histogram is really getting overdone, or I shouldn't say overdone, but it's really getting to extremes right now. To put this into perspective, here's your coronavirus dump times from March 2020. Got nowhere near this aggressiveness, as you can see. So this is really something special thus far. And I do think that Bitcoin's just due for a corrective bounce here, regardless of that. Really wouldn't take too much to get daily Stokes turning back up. They are, of course, in the critical zone right now to the downside, which is not good. But I do look at this as, a little bit in the line of the bullish court here, assuming that Bitcoin can just, put in anything resembling a local low. And of course, we do have DMI ADX. The DMI minus did lose its curvature over the last couple of days. I do think that this is rather telling right here, at least for a short-term move. So, the next thing that I'm looking for is the ADX to stop strengthening, and then very, 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 very likely Bitcoin will at the very least bounce up to 54,000 bucks. Personally speaking, I would be looking for I would be on lookout anywhere between about 56 and 58, we'll call it. Yeah, 56, 58. I mean, it is a rather big range, but we're dealing with big numbers here. Anyways, let's go to the 2-day and just check out this one. Yep, still bouncing off the it's still bouncing off the 55 exponential average right here. Again, I don't think it's out of the question to put another short-term wick to the downside at around, low 48,000 bucks or 48,500-ish region. But ultimately, I don't think that Bitcoin's going to break down fully. This still plays into the short-term time frame analysis that we're going to bring up in a second. But if we do go to the 3-day before that, guess where the 3-day bottom side Toronto band comes in? And by the way, they're actually curling in right now. It's kind of like concave in this case. And what do we see? I mean, we do see that essentially. I mean, well, first off, what is this telling you? It's telling you that volatility is kind of what's the right way to say this? I would say that volatility is kind of diminishing here. Trending down, if you will. Not anything too crazy, but the Toronto bands are collapsing on a price action, and they are actually coming in rather aggressively as of the last couple of closures here. Anyways, another wick down here to me would be an obvious trade. I shouldn't say obvious, but let's say this very, very, very likely something that I'd be interested in, as the as I do like the edge. Anyways, ultimately though, I do still look to the upside, and I would have a couple areas of interest just based off this 3-day chart. In fact, this one's incredibly profound right here. Obviously, the last 3-day open right around about 53,500. That's going to be a really, 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 really important medium-term time frame area of interest. And then of course above there, that's when we start to get into the $56,000, $58,000 region, of which I would be severely on lower high watch until proven otherwise. Now, if we bring up a momentum oscillators right here, it should be denoted that 3-day Stokes technically nosediving. They did not curl around at the edge of the bullish control zone. Obviously, we saw that interplay over here, and this one just kind of collapsing through 4 right now. Now, I should say also that it is rather, I wouldn't say confidence inducing, but it's rather telling that we don't see that the DMI minus is dominant right now, even though we have, technically speaking, closed on a lower low. So I still do look at this as more or less a long-term bullish market, but I wouldn't put it past the market to play out some 2 to 3 months of sideways and a little bit of downside. What would be even worse is if it just went sideways between about 45,000 bucks and 55,000 bucks for the next couple months. That would be really fucking good. Really piss off everyone. Holy fucking moly. Anyways, so that's what I wanted to get out right here. And let's go over to our short-term timeframes now and follow up from yesterday's short-term timeframe analysis. So yesterday's short-term timeframe analysis, I think we were somewhere right around here. Yeah, I think it was right around here. And what did we say? We said very likely another move back down to test around the edge of the blue box territory, and very likely a bounce off that, and still looking for the medium and higher term time frame bounce coming into maybe like early this coming week. And I'm basically looking at the same thing right now too. It does look like Bitcoin does want to actually test a little bit lower here, maybe put another wick down into the bottom end of this blue box territory. Obviously that's around 48,000 bucks, and would be your last little prior low, of course, on the 4-hour, or a major low, in fact. And of course, that did line up with several things that we looked at on our secondary charts as well. But I just want to see how momentum oscillators are actually acting within this region right now on 4-hour time frame. And actually very interesting here. We do see 4-hour Stokes curling around, and I really like this signature for at least another try to the upside overall. So I would be looking at any sort of price action down around here, more or less likely to bounce. Whether you're looking for another $1,000 down or not, I'm not too concerned with that right now, because while $1,000 move is $1,000 move, of course, from a percentage wise on a almost $50,000 number, it ain't all that much for Bitcoin. That is, I'm not going to say that ain't all that much when it's like literally 3% right there. But in terms of Bitcoin, I mean, that's a sneeze, right? We see these $1,000 moves almost, I mean, I wouldn't say hourly, but in a 4-hour deal, it's certainly not unheard of. I mean, right here we have, about 1,500 in fact in 4 hours worth of trading. It looks like pretty much all of these do have about $1,000 price action evolved in them. Anyways, 4-hour DMI ADX is a little bit more concerning right here. A bit of an infant signal with the DMI minus being dominant. So I am getting conflicting signals right here, because when the 4-hour Stokes are heading up with DMI minus being dominant and the ADX technically is strengthening, although this is not a strong read right here, to be fair. Usually you see these actually fail. I am a little more hesitant, and that is why I do think that Bitcoin probably puts in another wick to the downside first. But again, I'm looking at that more or less as an opportunity first and foremost, and then later on, maybe this coming week, we see some more downside play out. But if we go back on over here, and also it should be denoted that 4-hour MACD is actually still, I wouldn't say that this is bullish. I want to see it get above the 0 read, but at least okay for now. If we go back to our regular charts over here, what do we see? 4-hour TSI, kind of similar things, but not as strong certainly. And 4-hour RSI, kind of the key on this one, given another drive of hidden bearish divergence. And looking at this right here, I mean, could you argue that move has mostly played out? Yeah, I'd say so. I usually just like to target the last bottom side range in this case, and we pretty much already got it. Now this signal technically got confirmed right here, and this was closing price of about just over $50,100, and we're all the way down at a low of about 49.5. So yeah, it's very, 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 very relevant to say that one's already played out. Again, we're only dealing with 2 drives of hidden bearish evidence right here, contra to the macro trend. So whenever I see something like that, I don't actually really even play those, to be honest with you. I don't have any interest. I want to see 3 drives or more if it's going to be contra to like the the higher term time frame trend in this case. Anyways, let me just make sure that I'm recording and the microphone's working. It seems like it is, so that's good. And what else do we see on the lower term time frames? Are they agreeing with each other? Yeah, 3 hours doing the same thing. Same sort of hidden div right there too. So nice. And 2-hour is doing what? Same shit. What is the hourly doing? Same shit. So again, if I had to call it right now, short-term move to the downside, very similar to yesterday, but just like yesterday, I'd be looking for another bounce off that area as well. The only way that I really start looking for another trending move to the downside, and this is not going to be too helpful, but this is what I'd be doing myself, is waiting for a lower low closing price than our $48,000 low right here. If that were to happen, then yeah, I do look for another, $3,000 to $4,000 to the downside. 44 to 45,000 bucks is where I'd be looking for in this blue box territory right here, and another bounce implied right there. But at least for right now, I'm a little bit skeptical of that, especially over the weekend as of this current moment in time. Let's go to the 12-hour here too and see what we got going on. Yep, once again, Bitcoin kind of bouncing off the 200 simple and 200 exponential average classic shit right there. Again, I'm not saying that this is like a signature of strength, but at the very least, a little bit of a short and medium term time frame bounce, very likely implied from this, as we do see momentum also just kind of cool off in 12-hour TSI going actually to levels that we haven't seen in such a long time. In fact, it's been a very long time. September 2020 was actually the last time that we saw it that low. That was a major opportunity, by the way. Time before that was actually coronavirus about a year ago in March. Anyways, 12-hour RSI not giving us too much to chew on there. So let's actually go over here. I do want to check out, are all the lower time frames agreeing with each other as far as Stokes go? 4-3 is green, 2 is also nope on the other side, and hourly is on the same side. So yeah, typically when I do see that there's bifurcation between the lower term time frames, very likely a bit of a range on the short term time frames, and then the higher term time frames take over a bit. In this case, 12-hour really wouldn't take too much in order to cross these babies back onto the upside, as you can see right there. Well, I don't think that's the same cheat code that we've had in the past. It still actually does work pretty damn well if you do just hindsight trade this a bit. All these signals have been met by significant moves of price action, in fact. So you know what? Actually, I do respect it. Perhaps it is a cheat code once again. Looking at the daily, same thing too. It's pretty damn beat up there. So I do put the odds more or less on a 12-hour daily pop back up versus short-term time frame, maybe test back around yesterday or the day prior's lows. Anyways, going over to the daily over here, it should be denoted that daily RSI is in the bearish control zone for the first time since when? Since September 2020. Again, a major opportunity over here as well. And of course, the only other time that we've been below that region in the past year is actually March 2020. Anyways, what I would say though is in order to maintain the constructiveness on this RSI read, which by the way is breaking down right here. I mean, this portion right here is deconstructive, if you will. What I want to see is actually already not happening. Oh, that's not good. At least for the medium and higher term time frame, it's not great. It would suggest that this next bounce does get sold into, but we did make a lower low on RSI from here. Anyways, and again, those September lows. So we do have a change of behavior from a momentum oscillator perspective once again. And of course, this is following up on the daily 2-day and 3-day jewel cell signals, and those are continually being my bane as I never seem to learn my lesson with not favoring those. Anyways, okay, what else do we want to get on while we're here? Yeah, I think I'll talk about this too, because why the hell not, as we've spoken about just about everything that, I think is relevant in the short and medium term time frames for right now. And what do we see over here? Okay, weeklies, everyone knows about the 21, brought this up fucking years ago, or not years ago, but well, years ago, whatever the fuck, whatever. My point is that everyone's looking at this thing, the yellow 21 exponential average right here. It's no secret that in the past couple market cycles, Bitcoin's loved to kind of bounce off that, and those have been major opportunities in the past, going all the way back to May 2012. So you can see right here, this whole run up, boom, reverse. It actually destroys it for a second there, and then rides it again, and same thing. Once the market reverses, then it's actually a good selling point, and then same thing over here, reverses once again to the upside and straight fucking north. And same thing in 2018 all the way to 2020, and same thing more recently. And guess where it's coming in? And guess what? We actually even haven't tested this since September 2020. That is basically 45,000 bucks and rising over time. On top of that, we are going to have bearish divergence confirmed on the weekly here too, with any sort of a closure below, especially the 10 simple today, which is 55,000 bucks. So I would be looking at that, as another signal that Bitcoin ultimately will come back down to about 45,000 bucks and test the 21 officially. Weekly TSI turning down here too. I think weekly Stokes are certainly down, and more importantly, those weekly Stokes might even, if they do start to come back down below the critical zone right there, that's actually what I look at as an actionable trade as well, believe it or not. That's actually the way that I really like to use them, in fact, which is very counterintuitive to the way a lot of people look at it. On top of that, we even have a jewel cell signal on the weekly here, which is that is a signal. So not good, man, not good. And thus far, we've seen about a 26% pullback, if you will. Now, this is within the context, of an asset that has been known to pull back 30 to 40% on average over time. The last time that we had a 30+% pullback was back over here in January, from 42,000 to 30,000 bucks. Now, of course, several times in the past prior bull markets, we have all these iterations over here to go over, of which I've done this a million goddamn times, so I don't want to bore you with this, but we can measure out a few of them. There's a 37% pullback, crash, 26.5% pullback right there, about 38 and some odd percent right there, about 35% right there, about 35.5% right there. How about this one right here? Another 37 3/4. You get where I'm going with this, essentially. And let's just kind of play around with numbers, because right now we've done about 26% to the downside. That is significant, but we are dealing with big numbers. So another few percent is going to equate to, major changes in price action. Let's just see, what would it look like at around the 21? Oh, that's weird. 32.34%. Interesting. Do I think that could be a bottoming area? Yeah, it could be. What if we went a little bit lower though, perhaps to 39,000 bucks, which would be my next target if that one fails? Well, that would be about 39.32%. That's actually pretty damn consistent with the high side of these pullbacks for Bitcoin's historical behavior. So I actually rather like that. What else can we talk about? This was something that I brought up about a year and a half ago now, and that's the weekly RSI. And when Bitcoin is in a bull market, which there's no doubt in my mind right now that it is in a bull market, and I don't believe that we've seen the ultimate highs just yet. I think that we're seeing, one of these more nasty pullbacks. But anytime that Bitcoin's been in a, in a general bullish market, the 55 or so level on the weekly RSI has been a phenomenal base scenario. Now, I actually just drew a line there at 52, but we can make it a little bit of a range between about 52.5 to 55, basically. And all of these areas right here, of which this is from the time of June 2012, and I suggest that you actually backtest it yourself as well, just so you can see in front of your face, to February 14. Well, what is this? What was this? That was this starting run right here, and ending the cycle somewhere over, basically over here, actually, on that bull trap. Anyways, you can see all the tests down to this horizontal were phenomenal buys. Here's your first buy. Boom, you just bought the fucking low right there. Same thing on this one right here, 10 bucks before it goes to 1,000 bucks, or sorry, 250 bucks. Not bad, not bad, you might say. Next time we tested was way over here. Oh, that's weird. That's the next major low. Then we tested again right here before the next momentous drive to the upside. Interesting, right? Anyways, same thing over here on this bounce. And then the market reverses, obviously, so it doesn't really work anymore. It only works in, you know, bullish markets. And then what happens after that? Well, we reverse in 2015, October, and, well, you get your first test down here. That seems to be a let's actually just zoom in. That seems to be a major low. Interesting. What about this one over here? Another major low, 517, or yeah, about 570. Then this one over here, then this one over here, then this one over here, and over here. And what do you know? All these are tests down to the 21 as well. So what would it look like? Unfortunately, I actually can't reverse this right now, but it looks like we are at about the 59.58 read right now for the weekly RSI. And this is obviously going to come down more when Bitcoin closes later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And looking at this right now, you know, could it take another few weeks in order to get down around here and put in a bit of a base? Yeah, do you think that that's what's happening, actually? In fact, it should be denoted that the last time we even came into this region in the guise of an uptrend on the weekly was where? You fucking guessed it, 10,250. Not bad at all. So, you know, all of these things do suggest that Bitcoin does ultimately come a little bit lower, but more importantly, and the main message that I want to have on this video here is I do look at that as an opportunity first and foremost. Now, for the short-term time frame traders, let's go check out Caretaker's STC. Let's see what he's showing as far as the ranges go, because this actually will help my upside targets. Yeah, you can see that HVP here is so fucking high, so these are naturally going to be expanded to crazy levels. But this is, you know, this is accurate, especially considering, you know, that Bitcoin can really fucking move out of the space. And what do we see to the downside? About 45.6. Interesting. That's kind of around the 21. And to the upside, we got 56,000 bucks, which is kind of in that kill zone for a little bit of a lower high watch. Let's see if we go down to the hourly, that's probably gonna be more relevant for, you know, day traders today. And what do we see the range as? 51.3 to the upside versus 48.5 to the downside. And that's essentially what I'm thinking right now. So again, if I had to wrap up my thoughts, short term, yeah, probably test again to the downside. I don't have a strong opinion about that. My strong opinion is on not breaking the downside just yet. Very likely bounces from there somewhere into the, you know, into the mid $50,000 region, and then be on lower high watch for that next move down. And then perhaps that is going to be the next big major opportunity. Is there anything else that I want to say on this video? We're 26 minutes into it. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance. I want to keep this video a little bit on the shorter side. Okay, Bitcoin dominance over here. Yep, continue. Ooh, no. Have we found a low? It does look like we've actually found a low for now. Yes. Yes, Bitcoin dominance has found a low for now. So this is also a change behavior here too. Bitcoin has been on a downtrend for the Bitcoin dominance ever since January highs of this year, 2021. So it's been about, what, 4 months now, almost straight. And what does that mean? Well, that does mean that naturally you're gonna have an ebb and flow in this market. And seeing as we've just actually been straight down ever since, especially March to where we're at right now in late April, it should be denoted that we're ready for a bounce here. And how high can this thing bounce? I mean, geez, this thing just shot like. This thing just shot right through. This is a good bounce up significantly to like upper 50s, 57 to maybe even 60. I don't know about 60, but upper 50s in that, in that case. So I do think that that's also indicative of a change of behavior here too, because we have seen essentially the Bitcoin dominance come down ever since Bitcoin on price action basically started doing this over here in January 2021, right? Well, just really. So this whole structure right here is to be kind of like considered of the same sort of cut, the same sort of variety. And looking at this and bringing it back to the Bitcoin dominance over here, if we're going to reverse this, then that means that relationship is going to be inverted now. So what does that imply? It implies that yet again we have another change of behavior. And so if we have a change of behavior from what we've been doing right now, then Bitcoin is probably not going to be ranging here. In fact, it's going to be trending. And if Bitcoin's going to be trending after making a lower low, then take that as you will. I won't finish the sentence. So you know where I'm going with that. We can take a quick look at at a couple altcoins here and just see how they're doing. Let's see what Mr. Buterall is doing right now. Hey, computer screen, turn back on, sir. Looks to me like a little bit of short-term down, very similar to Bitcoin. Short-term downside, back down to 2130 is certainly not out of the question. But still have higher lows even on a 4-hour for right now. 200 exponential is kind of where I'm looking at. So yeah, low 2100-ish region. I'd be looking for a bounce around there. Let's look at like a 2-day and 3-day just really quick. I mean, it's looking a little bit weird here, yes, but I don't know. I don't hate the 3-day for right now. I mean, if this thing came back down to 21 or even 2,000 bucks, I'd look at that as an opportunity. I actually like the 3-day. Weekly is a little bit on the weaker side too, but do I hate it? No. At least not in its current posturing, especially with the monthly close coming in less than a week now. Now, to be fair, we could get a big wick to the upside, but for right now, a little bit too early to judge it with 5 days left. Let's go check out Litecoin. What's Litecoin doing? Litecoin got hit on the head a lot harder. I wouldn't be surprised to see Litecoin back down around 180 if Bitcoin takes another leg down overall. And I'd be looking at, again, at that as an opportunity, at least for a nice bounce play. But downside is kind of implied here. Short-term basing area, about 205 region, basically around $200. Let's go check out Ripple Me Nipples over here, 105. I believe that we said that 105 was on the menu from last week, and I would probably, well, would I be looking for another bounce here? No, I'd probably be looking for another try down around about 93.5 cents, but very likely another bounce there as well. I do think that this one's setting actually up for a decent bounce. I like daily RSI coming back into these levels right here. This is a bouncy bounce area. So you know, short term, it's very similar to Bitcoin. Short term down, but bounce implied from that region, and this thing can bounce aggressively, as you probably know. I mean, 145 to 150 is certainly not out of the question there either. In the monthly, to put things in perspective, I mean, there's nothing really bearish about this monthly as it is. In fact, monthly RSI really tells the story. You know, call me crazy, man, but XRP is long-term bullish here. I mean, we basically hit the last monthly closing high and effectively sold off from there. I mean, classic backfill shit. And even the monthly TSI is kind of getting going there too. So long-term actually do favor it. Anyways, moving on, what else do we have? What other shit coins can we check out today? Maybe Link would be a good one to check out. Where's my Link USD? I think it's down here. There we go. Link USD on the monthly, actually a little bit more concerning there, to be fair. And weekly Link is going to start to undo my Bula-ish bias. In fact, looking at the daily, it'll certainly be undone. In fact, barring any sort of a closure today, back above like 35.5. That was that was kind of like my bias buster area coming into this week. And I was bullish above there, you know, as long as we're going to remain above there, but that is not happening right now. Looks like we're going to all but confirm another third drive of bearish divergence on the weekly with any sort of a closure here or lower. Well, technically speaking, you want to see it close below the 10 symbol, but that's about 30 bucks, spot 70. And then I'd be looking for a move to about 25.5 bucks. But again, I do look at this one as an opportunity when the market reverses, and I do believe that. And again, I really don't believe that Bitcoin's done just yet. Do you think that Bitcoin has more all-time highs? Probably even this year. But you know, we're probably in for, you know, some sideways and down, as is typical of markets. They ebb and they flow, of course. But you know, this one right here, yeah, you know, if this thing came back down somewhere around 25 to 26 bucks, I'd be looking at that as an opportunity. Still like it long term. There's nothing inherently bad about momentum. Also, it is here on the daily. Weekly is a little bit more concerning, yes, but ultimately, you know, the strong typically are the first ones to reverse. So I'd be looking for this one to, you know, play out some sideways and down, and then when the market turns around, this one probably is going to be one of the bigger winners if I had to guess. Anyways, Coinbase closing on new lows, 290, not looking good. Just selling, just fucking the rolling hills of distribution over here, not good. We already looked at traditional markets yesterday, so nothing to update there as well. So maybe we shut off the video now. Yeah, I think we shut off the video now, actually. Or maybe we'll look at like one Bitcoin pair. And what about Litecoin? So I remember someone brought up Litecoin this week, and I said, we're probably going to see a high put in right around here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, it does look like that came to fruition. You know, I forget who that was. Actually, it'd actually be a good idea to check out some altcoin Bitcoin pairs. What about Ethereum? I still like Ethereum Bitcoin though. Still like Ethereum Bitcoin long term, but short term, yeah, is it coming back down? Yes. If this thing comes back down to like basically like just below 4 million satoshis, I look at that as a major opportunity. I mean, this is still long term good. Ripple Bitcoin, what are you looking at? Down. This one's coming down. Very likely back down to like 1870, maybe even lower than that over time. I think let's go look at Link BTC as well. Yeah, Link BTC down here too. You can see that this is yet again another lower high. You know, we do have some sort of a structure like this. What we can do is something like this. So let's get our highs in there, something like this. So we do have declining highs right now. Here's your next major area, and then below there, obviously your prior lows at 37,300. So I do think right now it's time to be paying attention to Bitcoin. It's not altcoin season at this exact moment. Altcoin season was basically from January to where we're at right now. Right now it's time to be taking profit season and then move on from there. And again, I don't think that this market's done just yet. We're very likely going through one of those major corrections, you know, similar to what we saw in in the past runs, which, as you can see over here too, I mean, sometimes these take, you know, months. This one over here, this one probably bored the shit out of people, right? This one goes all the way from a high of June 2016, and the next time that it actually, you know, comes even close to that high is December 2016. So June to December is 6 months. Kind of a long time. I mean, put that in perspective, and you know, realistically, it went down for about 3 months after that, from June to Yeah, August. So June, July, August. So about 3 months down. Hey, that's crazy. That is rather crazy, and a little bit of a rug pull right there too, all the way down to the 55 on the weekly. Anyways, I'm starting to ramble now. I apologize for eating up more time of yours than I am adherent to, but I do want to wish you well. I'll be back on tomorrow with some more video and live stream analysis. And by the way, going onwards and forwards from here, the way that I'll do the live streams is that if there is price action, like big significant price action in the morning, like my morning in Eastern European time zone, then I'll do a live stream in the morning. But if if it's rather quiet, or if there haven't really been any major doings, then I'll do it at the at the American morning time. So with that said, wishing you well once again. I salute everyone out there. Take care, and until next time.